Monday, Monday, so good to me. Monday morning, it was all I hoped it would be. Oh, Monday morning couldn't guarantee that Monday evening you would still be here with me. Monday, Monday, can't trust that day. Monday, Monday, sometimes it just turns out that way. Oh, Monday morning, you gave me no warning of what was to be. Oh, Monday, Monday, how could you leave and not take me? Every other day, every other day, every other day of the week is fine, yeah. But whenever Monday comes, you can find me crying all of the time. Monday, Monday, so good to me. Monday morning, it was all I hoped it would be. But Monday morning couldn't guarantee that Monday evening you would still be here with me. Every other day, every other day, every other day of the week is fine, yeah. But whenever Monday comes, you can find me crying all of the time. Monday, Monday, can't trust that day. Monday, Monday, it just turns out that way. Oh, Monday, Monday, won't go away. Monday, Monday, it's here to stay.
You know, I don't know if that played right, because the last time I tried to play that song on my show here, it only played like one half of it or something. So anyway, we'll take a look at that later and see if it worked. But in the meantime, I was uploading it to the Spreaker console anyway. So how is everybody doing? I am tired from the 4th of July weekend. We had an interesting thing happen. We took everybody and went out of town, and we were watching a firework display. And the thing about it is we were right under the firework display, right under where they were shooting off these huge fireworks. And we didn't mean to, but I couldn't tell where they were going to be shooting them off. And so I was driving, and we just accidentally got right under it. Well, it was really funny because little pieces of fireworks were hitting on the ground around us. And the neatest thing about it, though, was at the end of the firework display, and I could tell that we were kind of in a bad part of town. And at the end of the firework display, I swear to God, you can hear what sounds like somebody emptying a gun, shooting a gun. And I know it is. And so did a lot of the people that were with us. So I'm going to play that for you now. Listen to the fireworks, and then listen to, now it's only, let's see how long this is. This is only, hang on a minute. This is only 40 seconds long, okay? So at the end of the 40 seconds, listen for the gun that I'm talking about. This is the grand finale, as they call it.
Oh shit! One hit me in the arm.
And that was, of course, Victor, his voice. But isn't that the strangest thing? Here it is one more time for those of you that didn't hear it. Starting here. Now, I don't know. I've heard a lot of guns in my day, and that is a gun. And I was like, Victor, get in the car. And it was just really spooky. But I'm sunburned mostly on my arms. My shoulders are hurting. And we had a good time. We had a real good time. We did mostly a whole lot of nothing. Just sat around and did whatever we wanted to do. You know, just cooked out. One night we went and ate steaks. And I haven't done a podcast on here for 4 days now, I believe. 4 days, yeah. And so, yeah. I'm trying to... Oh, good, yay. When did it come? Right now? Mm-hmm. Good, thank you. I ordered pizza for dinner. I was not going to cook. Thank you. Did you get yours?
Mm-hmm.
Yay, and they weren't $5 a piece, by the way. They were like $12. But... Yay, pizza. Pizza's here. So I was going to show y'all something really funny that I'm trying to put together for this person. Not so much a demo reel, but things that could be on a demo reel, so to speak. And I really found some funny stuff. And one thing I found, I forgot we even did, was one night I was on the show with Steve Rush and, of course, the guys, Mr. Midnight Moving Jewish Producer. And I had a violin that we had taken in on bond as collateral. And it was a nice violin. And I pick it up and start playing it like an idiot. And take a listen how stupid it came out. But I'll take your bet you're going to regret because I'm the best it's ever been. Fire on the mountain, run, boys, run. The devil's in the house of the rising sun. Granny, chicken in the bread panel picking out dough. Granny, will your dog bite? No, child, no. I fell off the thing. Hold on. Did that sound kind of like it, or no?
Exactly. I didn't... was that a recording?
No, it was me. There you go, my violin. Sorry I took a bite of that pizza. I'm starving. But what else do we have here? Okay. Another one that I was looking at is one night there's so many things to show you here. It's just crazy. One night, excuse me, let me think which one I would show you guys. Well, there's so much to show you. Let's see. Let me find something to play for you guys. It's really funny. We did a show called, it was just simply called, for no other reason, I just called it A Moose Bit My Brother. Now, it went a little bit crazy at one point, and sort of morning showish, if you know what I'm talking about, kind of like a morning show. And that's kind of where we're trying to spin this, according to this guy. But listen to the craziness that can be us at certain times. This has a little bit over 1,000 listens, about 1,100 listens right now. And it's really insane. It's just really funny. Here we go. For this was, again, it was me and Steve acting like idiots. And here's what happened.
We're going to bring it on.
No, this is Mr. Solution doing karaoke.
You see, I told y'all not long ago about them 5 wives I had.
Oh, shit.
Well, it seems like every time I got a new wife.
Shut up. We want the studio version.
When I start making love, I don't just make love, I be stroking.
Come on, Steve.
That's what
Stroking.
I be doing.
Stroking. 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 He strokes it to the west. He stroked it to the girl that I love. That yeah, come on now. It's by Ichabod Records.
Let me ask you something.
Let me ask you something.
What time of the day do you like to make love? Have you ever made love just before breakfast?
Just this morning I did.
Have you ever made love while you watch the Late Late Show?
I made love legs.
I made love right now during this song.
I make
Have you ever made love on a couch?
On a what?
Well, let me ask you this.
In jail?
Have
With
you
the
ever
guard?
made love on the back seat of a car? I remember one time I made love on the back seat of a car, and the police came and shined his light on me, and I said, I be stroking.
Fuck.
That's what I'm doing. I be stroking.
What about, this says lick it before you stick it. I swear it does.
You've gone a complete 360 here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening.
This is Denise Laszlo called Lick It Before You Stick It.
Oh, she's
This is Debbie here on Radio KSUK, the radio station with pull, coming out of Chicago.
This song is dedicated to all the men out there that don't seem to know how to keep their woman happy. I want y'all to take a little listen.
I've never heard this in my life.
See if you wanna try this. Some men think the height of a woman's pleasure is when he's kissing her on her lips. And some men think the joy of foreplay is caressing with his fingers.
Here's Blind Boy Fuller singing What's That That Smells Like Fish? I swear to God.
Debbie, we've taken a wrong turn here.
1938.
Really? 38, guys.
It says Blind Melon Chitlin. Oh my goodness. These are hysterical. Please Warm My Weenie by Bo Carter. Are your biscuits good enough, big enough for me? I'm not lying. That reminds me of a joke, Steve.
What would that be?
A blind man was walking down the street and he went past a fish market, tipped his hat and said, "Morning, ladies."
I get it, it's a joke.
That's right. Now we're going to hear Bo Carter on his new album, Boys and Girls. It's not out yet. You can only hear it here on Radio KSUX out of Chicago, a 50 watt. That's right.
Temperature 32 degrees. We hope you enjoy it all. In your
This is Please Warm My Wiener as requested on the hotlines. This is right, Steve?
I hope everybody enjoys it. And remember, grab your wiener and play along.
I got something to tell you, baby.
Yeah.
Don't get mad this time.
Now, I had just accidentally ran into these songs. I was on YouTube, and as you know, I play off of my sound card here. And so anything that any noise my computer makes, you hear. And I ran into these songs, and I thought they were the funniest things I'd ever heard in my life. And you'll notice at one point, Steve goes, "Debbie, we're taking a wrong turn here." And I didn't acknowledge it. I heard it, but I thought, no, I'm going to run with this. And it became our most popular show here. But it gets a little bit worse. It just goes on and on and on. take a listen to some more of this.
He's all up in my mind.
And that's all we're going to give you tonight. And now we're going to move right on to Bull
Why
Moose
you take away my
Jackson.
wiener?
We've got a request on the line. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, I'm listening over here in South Chicago. How y'all doing over there?
Welcome to the show. What's your name?
My name is Shaniqua, and I want to make a request, please.
You may go. What you got? What you got, girl? What you
We want to hear Big 10-inch by
Oh, I would love to play that for you right now. Let's get that out there. What station are
by,
we? What
by
stations are called?
Bull Moose Jackson. Can you play that for us over here? We're partying on Saturday night.
Get drunk, bitch, and listen.
Thank you. We just love you. Oh!
Got me the strangest woman. Believe me, this chick's no cinch. But I really get her going when I take out my big 10-inch record.
I'm sorry, I can't do this.
What the fuck, man?
I swear to God, I'm not lying. You
Brandon
know how they
just lost the rails.
You know how they Don't Mash My Diggers So Deep by Bo Carter's coming up next.
Coming up here next, if you think we've hit depravity, we've just started.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
Speaking of scratching. On to you, Debbie. How you feeling tonight? You sound like a sexy...
We've got a call on line 5. Go ahead, line 5.
Yes. We're calling in from Fort Worth, Texas.
Is that you, Teddy Bear? Teddy Bear, I hear you.
We want to hear.
More. I miss your tight little bun.
Your biscuits are...
And your mom gave some good head.
We want to hear Your Biscuits Are Big Enough for Me by Bo Carter. Sorry.
All right, now we play a song for you. Go back, get drunk, bitch.
Baby, don't put no more baking powder and your bread you see. Cause your biscuits is plenty tall enough for me.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm done. All right, we're KMC 419 to base.
How many of y'all have waited out there for the new one coming up by Bo Carter? I have that right now, Steve.
I would love to hear it. I can't believe it's been released. Let's
Here we
hear
go,
it.
boys and girls. Don't Mash My Digger So Deep by Bo Carter. I swear to God, I'm not
This
lying.
has just been released this afternoon. Hope you enjoy it.
I'm in the studio. Slapping the bass.
Baby, if you don't like my peaches, baby, please don't you touch my tree.
Yeah, don't touch my tree.
Oh my God, this is
Baby, if you
great.
don't love my peaches, baby, please don't touch my tree.
Thank you, Bo. Thank you. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, buddy.
Thanks for coming into the studio, boys. You guys are nothing but class.
Now, I've got one more that we're going to take over here from the Mississippi.
Oh, we got another call? Line number 9, you're lit up. That means you're on fire. What you got for me?
Hold on just a second. That one maybe. Hold on.
Number 9, why don't you finish up that little job you're doing there with your friend? All right, well, let's go to line 69. 69, what you got for us? Pick us a hot one, would you?
Hi, Steve.
Okay, enough of that bull. But we also did that another night, and we did it on a night that we were playing 60s music. And for those of you who don't know Vince in the Bay is a guy off of Blog Talk Radio who always spoke on his Blog Talk Radio show with what seemed like to me and other people a lot of bass on his voice, a lot of bass. And it was just something that I sort of picked up on and sort of played with a little bit. Now, Vince is a friend of mine, and he didn't take anything. I mean, I wasn't insulting him and calling him names and things like that. I was simply just mimicking the fact that he had a lot of bass on his voice. Well, at one point during the show that we were playing 60s music, I actually call in and pretend to be somebody from a 60s. I pretend to be the lead singer to, I can't remember the name of the song. It's the song that goes, "Get Your Motor Running." I forgot the name of the band, but I pretend to be this guy, and it's really kind of stupid because Steve just falls right in line. I mean, literally falls right in line. and just picks up on what I'm doing and runs with it. And that's just what I love that about him. I love people that will go with what I'm doing and run with it, because obviously it's some sort of a bit I'm trying to do. And I learned a lot about that by listening to a gentleman that has now passed away in Dallas named Kid Craddock. Kid Craddock had the number one show in Dallas for a long time. And at the age of 53, he dropped over dead of a real nasty irregular heartbeat, and it's kind of spooky. But what got me about Kid Craddock, and at one point, I called in and I talked to Kid off the air, and he said, "Hey, I want to do something with you." And I was like, "What?" He said, "I want you to be a caller on the show, a regular caller." And I was like, "Okay." And I wasn't really sure what he meant. Well, what he meant was whenever he did a bit, they would actually call me, and then I would be on the air, and he would pretend that I would be a caller. And at one point, I believe that Kid was trying to work me into being a regular on the show, a regular caller. And I just loved the way he did it, because he would just take off on a tangent. And it was the way that his group that he had with him, it's a morning show, it was the way his group just followed right along. And it always turned out good. It was always funny. There was a girl named Kelly Raspberry. Kelly Raspberry was his second, I guess you could say. But she was very, very, very possessive of Kid. And she was very particular about who came in the studio, if you know what I'm talking about. And here is a little bit from that show whenever we were doing the 60s, and I do not know where it's at, where I go crazy, but it was a really fun show. Here it is. Oops, that didn't work. The reason why it didn't work is because, well, I could tell you, but it's just a stupid process. But no, I will not be addressing that issue. I think it's stupid. It's not worth my time. You can stop asking me on Skype about it. I'm not going to be addressing that. It's ridiculous. I don't care. It's just stupid, and I have nothing to do with it. I don't want to talk about it. It's dumb, and it's not worth my time. But moving right along, I'll see if I can find this another way. I'm going to go to my account, because I actually did it on Blog Talk Radio. I simulcasted it off of, well, wait, I can find it that way. Let me take a look and see. Let's see. We did that show on Blog Talk Radio. Let me see. It was, well, let me see. Show in the iTunes store. And we don't have that in the iTunes store. But, well, okay, back to what I was doing. I'd like to know when it was, because it was really funny. Yeah, just hang on. I'll show it to you. So back to Blog Talk Radio. And I know there's drama going on Spreaker, and I will not have anything to do with it. I didn't have anything to do with it to begin with. Let them say what they're going to say. Let them do what they're going to do. I could care less. It's stupid, and I think once they sit back a couple of years from now and look at themselves and think about what they did, they'll know they're stupid. Okay, here we go. Here's my account on Blog Talk Radio. It's probably not going to sound all that great, because the sound at Blog Talk Radio wasn't all that great at the time, but from what I understand, they have improved it. So good for them. I'm glad they've improved it. But I know that show is on here. It was really funny. Thank you. That's very sweet. Oh, here it is. I think, if it's still there. Yeah, here it is. Come back. Well, it was there, and then it ran away. Where did it go? It is... I know, I saw it. I saw it pop up, and then it disappeared. Right when I was fixing to click it, it disappeared. Where did it go? Now that's weird. Where did it go? I looked up and I saw it, and then all of a sudden when I went to click it, it was not there. Still looking. Hold on. Okay, where is it? Zoot Suit Riot, Monday Night with Mr. Midnight Moving Jewish Producer. That's weird. That is so weird because I just saw it. Now that is bizarre. That is weird. It was there and now it's gone. Oh, here it is. Duh. I was fixing to say, wait a minute. This is crazy. It says it was only 5 months ago when we did this. And it says Debbie and Steve having fun in the 60s. So it was pretty funny. I remember laughing my, you know what off at it. But like I said, don't be surprised if the sound quality really is bad. So we'll see. It's pretty funny, though.
Office Depot and Office Max have all the gear you need.
I don't think so. We're not going to do a free advertisement for Office Max. They're not paying me to advertise on this podcast, so they can just stick it straight up there. You know what? I have more to report tonight on the Kennedy assassination. I've been doing more research on it, and there's more to report. Some interesting things I think you'll find here on Conspiracy Radio. So we're still waiting on that commercial to stop. Let's see. Here we go. Whenever it starts, I'll hit the mute button. If it ever starts. Blog Talk Radio is so weird. It's hard to say. It's good and then it's not. Wait, here we go. Here we go.
And for those of you who weren't listening, we're talking chords. Of course.
We're talking smooth running chord. Okay, now let me try one more time. One more time, Wilma.
Debbie wrote this song, by the way.
When I was 3.
When she was 3.
Okay, we're obviously going to bump this forward to 29:30. See where we're at now. You're just kind of running blind here on Blog Talk. You don't know what you're looking at. At least on Spreaker, you can see the audio.
It's ultra good.
Nice.
That's one of the funniest shorts that the Three Stooges, in my opinion, ever did. It's called Microphony, and it's where they're just beyond nuts.
That's awesome.
They're too funny.
I've always liked it. I remember as a kid, man, I used to come home from school and watch them. Right after I put my dinosaur in the backyard, tied him to a tree. Because I'm so old, I just went go with the old references. Gotta.
That's really rude for you to say that. It's really.
I know. It's right to my own face. God, I mean.
Yeah.
What if I heard me when I said that? 90% of the time I'm with me when I'm talking. It's crazy. Think I'd be more sensitive, but no, I keep doing that. God, I'm sad.
Another one of the favorites that they did was called Dunked in the Deep from 1949, and I always do certain lines from the Three Stooges, and my children crack up when they finally hear the Three Stooges because all their life.
We're going to go forward again. It was when we started taking requests, and we were really taking requests. It wasn't like a stupid request line where we were just making it up. We were actually taking requests. So I think I'm just going to go to 10231.
Thank you so much!
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I told you, man. Dude, can we just talk about something? How amazing is Rush?
Excuse me. How amazing is Rush?
Amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. I was like, oh.
This is where we get our Rush drop, right here.
Oh, my God. Red Barchetta?
Come on.
How does Getty still hit those high notes?
Voice of an angel.
I swear to God, he must drink a lot of tea.
Toes.
Hey, do you think it's cool to be in here? We're the only ones.
Pete. All access passes. That means we can go anywhere.
Maybe it was a mistake to bring the Dublonek.
Are you kidding me? Once they sign that, that's going to be a memento for the rest of your life.
Dude, we are in Rush's green room.
No kidding. Happy birthday, hombre.
Thank you, my brosion. Tickets to Rush and backstage passes, best gift ever.
Dude, you're worth it.
Hello. I'm going to eat you a sandwich.
Hey, that says for Neil only. I wouldn't eat that.
That sign is for, like, roadies and stuff, okay? And besides, the Holy Trinity, they're guys just like us. Except they're also the greatest...
Going forward again.
I saw 4 in the mezzanine. Yeah, I had 3 in the front row.
Night. Oh, tote. Mugout. Well, I just got to say, though, before I go, that was such a sweet-ass set. I was like, oh, freaking out. And the whole movie thing, right? And then with when you were playing the drums, is that hard?
Yes, it's hard.
Guys, you got to go now. All right, now.
Yeah.
No.
Get out. Let's get out of their head.
Peter, no. Hold on. It's my friend's birthday today, so I got him tickets to your concert, which are not cheap, by the way. We grew our show beards just for you. So the least you could do is sign my friend's 9-string.
You got a double neck? Do you know how to play that thing?
Well, not nearly as good as you, but I have been known to slap at the bass big time.
He's talking like a leprechaun.
Everybody says that. No, it's like a Caribbean. It's like my Rasta guy. It's like the bass, man.
Hey, can I check your laminate there, dude?
Whoa, it's legit, Leaflet. It's all access.
Hey, Dirk, check this out. Is this a fake or what? 3-season access? Come on.
You told me your buddy Ethan worked at the record label. My buddy Ethan works at Kinko's.
I'm going to get someone to come down here and kick your ass unless you get out of here now.
I think we understand we're not wanted.
Finally.
Thank you for the sandwich.
No, leave it. Go, guys.
I've already taken a bite.
So sorry, Rush.
There's no Dirk and Rush.
That's a nickname. Like Jobin. Go.
Who carries around a walkie-talkie? Sorry, Rush.
Why? Why did you fake the laminate?
I'm sorry. Okay, I really am. I wanted your birthday to be special.
I know, but now Rush thinks we're idiots.
Hey, Peter, you forgot something. Happy birthday, man. You keep slapping that bass.
Damn straight.
There you go. There it is. There it is, and there it is.
I have a couple of questions. Why do they say Dirk?
Well, each one of them have a nickname. And if you're a really big fan of Rush, you know what their nicknames are. Neil Peart is Pratt. It's not Peart. So, and Dirk is Alex Lifeson.
Going forward.
So there's like 15 different nicknames.
The Jabs bomb for Harvard. All right?
I know. He's very bright.
We've got another one that says, whenever my girl forgets to lock the door and I catch her watching porn with no bra on. Oh,
going forward.
Who is she with? Once? Who is she with? With another man.
There's something wrong with you, Steve.
What do you mean she was with another man? Doesn't that upset you that she was with another man?
Stop it.
Sorry.
I'm going to...
You're beautiful. That was
You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
No, I'm not going to do it. I can't go on. I can't perform tonight. I have a case of the Tourette's.
Oh,
God. Don't fucking shit. Strawberries.
I love when you sing this. God, it cracks me up.
I love when you love that I love it.
James Blunt. Something about, what does he say about brilliant? He says, my life is brilliant.
My life is brilliant.
Relax and enjoy. Oh, that's not that. James Blunt, everybody, live in the studio.
My life is
brilliant. Piano and guitar.
I'm on mute. I'm lying.
My life is
brilliant.
My love is pure. I saw an angel of that I'm sure.
How do you do that?
I won't lose sleep on it, 'cause I've got a plan. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. It's true.
Dan, almost caught you.
No, you're not going to catch me, Debbie. Come on, catch
My
a
life is brilliant.
My life is brilliant.
I don't know how
My
you...
love is pure.
How do you do that?
I found an angel.
That I'm sure. I can do it if I shake my throat like this. That I'm sure. No, I can't do it.
If out on the highway, she was with another man. It's like you're fucking a goat. She was with another man. Well, who was she with? Once? Who was she with? She was with another man.
There's something wrong with you, Steve.
What do you mean she was with another man? Doesn't that upset you that she was with another man?
Stop it.
All right.
I'm going to... You sound like... No. What was I going to say? Damn it. I was going to say something.
Words. You're going to inspire us with words.
I have too much treble on my voice. Let me turn some.
I know.
Let me give me some.
What I want to say.
Victor, stop
ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are just tuning in to the Debbie Daily Network, as we're getting ready to do the show, I called her and she had said, "Hold on 1 minute." And then she plugged something in, and my ears are still bleeding. The loudest feedback of my life because I couldn't hear, so I cranked it up.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to tell you some stuff that I learned about the Kennedy assassination. Okay, I've told you before that all sources point to Lyndon Baines Johnson. He actually didn't do it, but it was a plot that was it involved the CIA, the mafia, some people, and it's kind of detailed and long, but it had to do with the fact that Kennedy had was quashing the war in Vietnam. The war in Vietnam was going to bring millions and millions and millions of dollars to Texas oil millionaires that Johnson was locked in with real tight. There's so many questions you can say, well, why did he have Johnson as his vice president if he didn't like him? There's so many questions that you can ask yourself, and you wonder about, the answer. Well, why would he do something like that if he didn't like him or whatever? And I'm going to answer some of those questions because because I think it's something that we as a community need to know. We need to know about what our government is capable of doing. I mean, it's ridiculous what they're capable of doing. And let me tell you something, they are capable of doing some pretty rotten things. But while I look for a link that I had earlier, maybe I bookmarked it. Let me see if I did on my bookmarks. Maybe I did. Probably I didn't know. Let's see. Did I do that? No, let me check right here. One more place. No, I didn't, but I can find it. There's been people before me that have done much more probing into the assassination than I did. It has always puzzled me. It's always puzzled me why people weren't given the truth. And I completely understand now why, because it comes down to the bottom line, the very bottom line is it's hard to believe that a president would kill another president. And a lot of people say, well, is it because he wanted to be president? Well, yes and no. President Kennedy was looking at another 5 years in office. And by the time he had spent the other 5 years in office, he would have changed a lot of things in this country, and I mean a lot. That's why in his eulogy, Ted Kennedy says he saw a war and tried to stop it. If you remember the eulogy that he read. I'm trying to find this. Hang on just 1 second. In the meantime, let me do this. Let me go back over here to my console, and let me click add, and let me see if it uploaded. I hope that song uploaded Monday. Yeah, it did. Here's Monday, and I hope it sounds better this time, by the Mamas and the Papas, which is really a weird name, but whatever. And in the meantime, I'm going to find these facts for you guys, if it will open in my board here. Any day. Take your time. Let me close a couple of things. I've got too much open on my computer. Let me close some things that are open here. Let's see. Force quit. Yeah, that's what's going on. Let's close this. And let's close that. And that. And that. And this. Gosh, I have everything open. And this. There we go. Close everything out. All right, and we'll see if this is going to open now. It's acting stupid for some reason. I don't know why it's doing that. It's not wanting to load, but my life is brilliant. Let me go back and try that one more time. Monday. That's weird. I wonder why it loaded it once. Well, forget it. I'm just going to play it live again. Screw it. Well, anyway, I'll just play this, which is a little message sent out live over the airwaves here to all of the people that are having so much fun talking their little trash talk about me, which is all bullshit. Anyway, here we go. This is for all of you out there on Spreaker. You can tell everybody about the state I'm in. You won't catch me crying because you just can't win. Okay, I found it already. That's how fast I am. All right. Okay, it says in part, when President Kennedy was shot in Dallas, Texas in 1963, police and FBI stormed the Texas Book Depository and located a rifle near an open window. The so-called sniper's nest had been made by arranging several cardboard boxes so as both hid the shooter from anyone who might have been on the 6th floor at the time and also to support the rifle. Investigators scoured the scene for fingerprints, but the rifle and the boxes had apparently been wiped clean. The only forensic element that could possibly identify the killer was a partial fingerprint that was lifted from one of the boxes. In an attempt to identify the print, officials took the prints of everyone who worked at the book depository, including the main suspect, who was Lee Harvey Oswald. They also compared this print to police and FBI agents who had access to the crime scene, but the print remained an enigma. The print, as it turns out, belonged to a man named Malcolm Wallace, a longtime friend and associate of President Lyndon Baines Johnson. Those unfamiliar with the methods of matching fingerprints may want to quickly review. Never mind, there's a picture of it. The prints from Dallas and Wallace matched 14 unique points. What's more intriguing is that a recent documentary on the subject obtained the analysis of a fingerprint expert who had done this type of work for 35 years. And he said, there is no doubt it belongs to this man. And then when they gave him the fingerprint, they did not tell him what it was for or who it was. Now, Malcolm Wallace was born and educated in Texas. He was an intelligent man who graduated from UT and was quickly recruited by Lyndon Johnson and given a job at the Federal Department of Agriculture. He first came to the attention of authorities when he was arrested in 1951. He was tried and convicted of killing a professional golfer by the name of John Kinzer. At the time, Kinzer was having an affair with Lyndon's sister, Josepha, and was also involved with Wallace's wife. Josepha Lyndon Baines Johnson's sister, was an alcoholic and a drug addict. She had a reputation for being promiscuous, and especially when she was high. She disclosed personal information and stories about Lyndon. It was feared that she might have already disclosed some illegal activities about Johnson to Kinzer, specifically certain activities that he engaged in during the race for Senate, which is specifically an incident known as File 13 or something 13, where Johnson was so adamant about becoming a politician, he had 200 names. He had 200 names put in the box of dead people, and he won by something like 70 votes. Kinzer was gunned down at his golf club. Shortly after, Wallace was arrested and found guilty of first-degree murder. Now here's where it gets weird. During his 10-day trial in Austin, Texas, Wallace was represented by one of LBJ's lawyers. Johnson took a room near the courthouse in a hotel, and he had runners keeping him updated on the testimony and the proceedings. And then at the end of the trial, when he was found guilty, he was given 5 years probation. Later in 1961, Wallace again was implicated in another murder for Johnson. This time, the victim was Henry Marshall, an official with the local agricultural department who had been investigating an illegal source of Johnson's funding. In 1961, State Agricultural Stabilization and Conservation official Henry Marshall was investigating a broad series of fraudulent government subsidies, amounting to figures in the 7 or 8 digits, allotted to Billy Sol Estes, a close personal friend of Senate Majority Leader's Vice President Lyndon Baines Johnson. Marshall had uncovered a paper trail that was leading him closer and closer to Johnson. It is reported that all the guilty parties held a meeting at which Johnson gave the order to get rid of him. On June 3, 1961, Mac Wallace knocked Henry Marshall unconscious with a blunt object, fed the unconscious man carbon monoxide from a hose attached to Wallace's pickup truck, and then shot him 5 times with a bolt-action .22 caliber rifle and dumped him in a remote corner of his farm near Franklin, Texas. Justice of the Peace Lee Farmer pronounced him death by suicide and ordered Marshall buried without an autopsy. Over the protest of Marshall's widows, despite this, local authorities under the influence of Johnson's gang declared that he had, quote-unquote, committed suicide. Fearing that his sister, now this is where it gets really weird, fearing that his own sister may pose a threat to his political career, Lyndon Baines Johnson had more work for Wallace. On December 25, 1961, Christmas Day, LBJ's sister, Josepha Johnson, was found dead in her bed in Fredericksburg, Texas, at 3:15 a.m. The cause of death was stated to be, quote-unquote, brain hemorrhaging. Josepha Johnson had returned home from 11:45 from a Christmas party at Lyndon's ranch. There was no autopsy, no inquest. The death certificate was executed by a doctor who was not present to examine the deceased. Mrs. Johnson was embalmed on the same day and buried the next day. Huh? What am I telling you? I mean, I'm just saying. Now, most of us knew LBJ as a tall man with a Texas accent, right? Who reluctantly assumed the responsibilities of the 36th President of the United States following the assassination of John Kennedy. However, not many of us knew who he really was. Johnson was born in 1908 in Texas, and he was known as a bully. In 1941, a young Lyndon Johnson tried and failed to be elected to the Texas Democrats as a Texas Democratic senator. It was a loss that hit Johnson so hard, and an event he was determined to never be repeated. So in 1948, he tried for the Senate again, this time up against a very popular candidate named Stevenson. Throughout the campaign, the polling showed a very close race, and towards the end of the race, it looked like Stevenson was going to win, but Johnson had a secret weapon, George Parr. Parr controlled the votes in southern Texas. Everyone watched the candidate he backed, and his influence was the stuff of legends. Of course, there was a price for Parr's support. Sometimes it was paid up front, but sometimes it was put off to the future. It was Johnson's hard luck that Parr had switched his vote in Johnson's first Senate bid, and thus Johnson lost the election. Now, the same George Parr, sufficiently paid by Johnson's camp and with no offers from the Stevenson's camp, delivered the election to Johnson. 6 days after the polls had closed, the winner was still not decided. By all estimates, Stevenson was expected to win. But then something miraculously happened. In the district of Alice, Texas, 202 additional votes suddenly appeared in the Precinct 13 voting box. All but 2 were cast for Lyndon Johnson. Suspicious officials noted that these 202 names appeared to be added to the list. They were in alphabetical order and were in the same handwriting and written in the same ink. Stevenson cried foul play, but Johnson and his friends won the election by the support of the Democratic Convention. Senator Johnson used his office to grow his influence with Big Oil. His main appeal was his support for the oil depletion allowance, which allowed oil companies to avoid taxes on their wealth. A quote says by Robert Bryce, an oil man drills a well that cost $100,000. Okay, he finds a reservoir containing $10 million worth of oil. The well produces $1 million worth of oil per year for 10 years. In the first year, thanks to the oil depletion allowance, the oil man could deduct 27.5%, that means per penny, or $275,000 of the $1 million in income, of his taxable income. Thus, in 1 year, he has deducted nearly 3 times his initial investment. But the depletion allowance continues to pay off because for every other year, every 9 years, he gets to do the same thing, totaling $2.75 million. Ironically, Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, wanted to reduce the oil depletion allowance. Kennedy was also opposed to the escalating Vietnam conflict. With 16,000 military advisors in Vietnam, Big Oil and Big Business desperately wanted to see this develop into a full-blown war. Kennedy had already signed the NSD, the National Security Document, number 263, to withdraw all troops by 1965. With billions to be made from a military economy, Kennedy was an obvious obstacle. And Johnson was a friend to the people that would make the money. You see what I'm saying? The love-hate conflict with Kennedy administration was especially felt by one big wealthy oil man named Clint Murchison. Clint Murchison owned the Dallas Cowboys at one time. And it was the Murchison Mansion where they had this big meeting the night before Kennedy was assassinated. So, like I said earlier, you may say, well, Debbie, why did JFK, John F. Kennedy, put LBJ on his ticket? Okay. With their politics often in opposition, it seems rather odd that Kennedy would choose Johnson to be his running mate in 1960. In fact, John Kennedy and his brother Robert didn't want any part of Johnson, but there was a problem. John Kennedy had his own personal demons. He was addicted to Schedule 4 methamphetamine and steroids because of his severe back pain, now stay with me, and his chronic Addison's disease. He was also a womanizer. He had many, many affairs while he was a senator, and those were well documented by J. Edgar Hoover. Hoover had his own sexual demons. He was a closet homosexual, was himself blackmailed by organized crime and big oil interest into threatening the Kennedys with exposure of JFK's sexual activities unless he allowed Johnson a place on his ticket. Now, all of this has been confirmed. This isn't just, somebody talking. This is what I think. No. All of this has been confirmed. And it took 30 some odd years to do. Trust me. It says that JFK's sexual activities, unless he allowed Johnson a place on the ticket, Hoover played his card, and the Kennedys reluctantly folded. According to Kennedy's personal secretary, Evelyn Lincoln, both Bobby and John Kennedy were extremely upset. Quote, unquote. Here's the quote. She says, in the room at the Biltmore Hotel, they were huddled together closely on the bed discussing about Lyndon Baines Johnson. Robert Kennedy would get up, look out the window, and stare. John F. Kennedy would sit there and think. It was a very intense 30 minutes. How to maneuver to get it so that Johnson would not be on the ticket. It was blackmail. The malicious rumors were fed by LBJ, by J. Edgar Hoover, about his Kennedy's womanizing. LBJ and Hoover had boxed Kennedy into a hole. It was a short-lived victory for LBJ. Johnson had been on the top of the heap as a Texas senator, but as vice president, he was demoted to ribbon cutting, performing ceremonial tasks around the globe, and again, his huge ego was limited to handing out pins with his autograph printed on them, but his authority was severely limited. Once, while traveling to Scandinavia, the U.S. Embassy sent an uncoded telegram for all eyes to read, warning that anything Johnson said should not be taken as representing the views of the American government. So you can understand a man with as much pride that this man had. I mean, he was the ultimate in narcissist. I mean, obviously, what it meant for him to play second fiddle to this guy that he called the Irish Mafia. He hated the Kennedys. Moving on. Glenn Murchison was an oil billionaire whose wealth was made in the wildcat oil business in Texas, nurtured and preserved by the oil depletion allowance. He owned 500 companies and controlled everything and anything in Texas. He extended his influence to D.C. and other powerful venues through a very special hotel that he ran. You know, you always have to have the special meeting place. You always have to have the place where you go when you have your meetings that everybody knows about. There was a hotel in La Jolla, California called the El Charro Hotel. As you probably guessed, the Del Charro was no ordinary hotel. In the 1950s, a room rate was starting at $150 a night. Murchison, a multi-billionaire, certainly didn't run it to make a profit. If you stayed at the Del Charro, your food and your lodging were all paid for. The frequent guests were, this has all been proven, J. Edgar Hoover, director of the FBI, Carlos Macello, New Orleans Mafia king, Richard Nixon, who lost the 1960 presidential election to Kennedy, Bobby Baker, Johnson's right-hand man and secretary to the U.S. Senate, and a wealthy man named D.H. Byrd, the owner of the Texas Book Depository. With a partner named Sid Richardson, Murchison also owned the Del Mar racetrack. Since Hoover was fond of gambling, Murchison set him up with a box seat at the finish line. He also let Hoover invest in his oil ventures and would give him his money back if he didn't strike oil. There's pictures of him at the racetrack with Hoover. The Del Charro was, it provided a social atmosphere where organized crime, the FBI chief, big oil money, and political powers could mingle. Behind the scenes, there was a secret understanding. The mob had obtained photographs of J. Edgar Hoover engaging in oral sex with his male partner, Clyde Tolson, mafia boss. Macello controlled these photographs and blackmailed Hoover into avoiding any action against the mob. In fact, in the early 1960s, the FBI had no formal training or divisions that addressed organized crime. And so from the top down, they were known as hands-off. All of this was about to change in the fateful year of 1963. JFK's brother and now Attorney General, Robert Kennedy, as Hoover's new boss, had declared war on the mob. To put Hoover in an extremely anxious predicament, gradually organized crime, Hoover and Big Oil were becoming frustrated with JFK. Nixon had also his axe to grind, having been defeated by Kennedy. Kennedy not only talked about change, he made change happen. The oil depletion allowance was fixing to be slashed. Organized crime had begun to be prosecuted by a zealous Justice Department, and even the CIA was mad at Kennedy. Kennedy had made it clear that the CIA was to gather intelligence as described in their charter, but were not to propose or promote policies. He was so angry with their performance in Vietnam and Cuba that he openly talked about dissolving the organization. This is a quote from President Kennedy. If the United States ever experiences an attempt at a coup to overthrow the government, it will come from the CIA. This agency represents a tremendous power and is totally unaccountable to anybody. And so there you have, a storm was brewing. So one evening before the assassination, there was a meeting. The Murchison Mansion in Dallas, Texas. The evening before the Kennedy's assassination, there was a dinner party at Clint Murchison's mansion in Dallas. The special guests were J. Edgar Hoover, Richard Nixon, and other guests, quote-unquote, from the Del Charro Hotel. H.L. Hunt, which if you live in Texas, you know who the Hunt brothers are, was the richest man in America in 1963. His estimate worth was $5 billion in 1963. He was especially interested in preserving the oil depletion allowance and disliked the social programs opposing it that Kennedy did. He told the gathering of compadres that the only way to get communists like the Kennedy out of the office is to rid them out. Ironically, Hunt Oil benefited from Johnson's rise to power and in more recent times from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Murchison Mansion ate quail for dinner, and shortly after they finished, Lyndon Johnson arrived. It was at that time that the male members assembled behind closed doors. And one of the guests there was Madeline Brown, LBJ's girlfriend, his mistress. Brown had met Johnson right after the Box 13 scandal. He was celebrating the victory in Texas Hotel and danced with Madeline, then handed her his hotel key, blah, 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 blah. Years later, Madeline saw how troubled Johnson seemed, as if harboring some psychological demons. Throughout Texas, there were rumors he had been responsible for the death of JFK, and one evening, Madeline Brown decided to spill the beans. If the decision to murder Kennedy was made that night at the Murchison Mansion, the plans must have been ready much earlier than that. The meeting in Dallas the night before the assassination was merely a fail-safe point where the crafted and premeditated murder was given the go-ahead. From the testimony of Bill Sol Estes, a close associate of Johnson, we learned that the plot was coordinated by a man named Clark. Edward Aubrey Clark was born in St. Augustine, Texas in 2006. He obtained his degree from Tulane and blah, 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 blah. In 1935, Clark became assistant to Governor James Allred. Soon after, he met Lyndon Baines Johnson, and the two men became very close friends. The following year, Clark opened a private law practice with Everett Looney. He also worked as a political lobbyist for the oil industry. One of his main clients was Big Oil, a company owned by Clint Murchison, and he was one of the regular guests at the Del Charro Hotel, and he was known as the Arranger. A few years after the assassination, Clark's law firm partner could not resist bragging about his involvement in the affair. He told Barr McClellan, who worked at the firm, "I'm the only man living that knows what happened in Box 13. And I also know who took care of things in Dallas." Clark planned the assassination for many cities, finally deciding that the murder would be best done on their own turf. Through his many contacts and guests of the Del Charro Hotel, Clark had access to the Mafia, the FBI, and the CIA. The latter was involved through the mob's association with William K. Harvey, a former FBI man who worked with the CIA's foreign assassination projects. The plans were elaborate, but as history shows, very effective. Not only did they succeed in killing Kennedy, but they also achieved their financial goals, political goals, and covered their tracks. Okay, so what about the stories we're told? The anti-Castro fanatic, Lee Harvey Oswald, the single shooter theory. Well, I'm glad you asked. In the following memorandum from the director of the CIA, Lee Harvey Oswald is clearly identified as a CIA agent, and it reads in parts. Lee Harvey Oswald's subject was trained by this agency undercover for the Office of Naval Intelligence for Soviet assignments. During preliminary training in 1957, subject was active in aerial something of mainland China and maintained a security clearance up to the something level. His military record during this period are open to your agency, and I have directed they be forwarded to the commission. Edward Clark, acting on orders from Lyndon Baines Johnson, had arranged for all the parties who wanted Kennedy killed to contribute either cash or manpower. It was like a poker game. You had to ante up, so to speak. Clint Murchison was the one that put up the cash. The quote-unquote shooters were guaranteed $6 million, $9 million, and another one. In return, Big Oil got their oil depletion allowance. The military-industrial complex got billions of dollars because of the war. In the Vietnam conflict alone, the helicopters that were made by Bell Helicopter, which we all know where that's at, okay, 30 of them were destroyed. They were valued at, I could be wrong on this, but they were valued something like $3 million a piece or something crazy like that. And then the F-something bombers, well, I'll get to that in just a second, okay? In the following memorandum from J. Edgar Hoover, we see that information about anti-Cuban activity, which was supposedly motivation for Oswald, who was given verbally by, well, I'm not even going to touch that. Never mind. That'll just get y'all all excited. Now, many people involved in this crime were highly successful in the years that followed. It was the reward for their complicity and their silence. Nixon and Bush Sr. went on to become president. Hoover continued his position and avoided revealing his homosexuality. Gerald Ford was appointed to the Warren Commission by Lyndon Johnson that found Oswald to be the lone crazy shooter. Also eventually became president. The Hunt Oil Company benefited from the war in Vietnam, the Iraq War, and Afghanistan. Bush Sr. became head of the Carlyle Group. Some arms and weapons dealers profiting from the war on terror. And Robert Kennedy, the Attorney General, who likely knew what happened, was himself assassinated on the brink of continuing the policies of his brother. However, unknown to the general American public and never mentioned in history books is the fact that a Texas grand jury indicted and found Lyndon Baines Johnson guilty as a conspirator from his association with Malcolm Wallace, Billy Sol Estes, and Edwin Clark in the following 9 murders. The killing of Henry Marshall, the agricultural secretary, the killing of George Krultnick, an FBI informant who worked for Estes, Ike Rogers and his secretary, Harold Orr, an FBI informant who worked for Estes, Coleman Wade, an FBI informant who worked for Estes, Josepha Johnson, LBJ's own sister, John Kinzer, Josepha's boyfriend, and President John F. Kennedy. Now, as somebody else writes on here, dear, well, it's just a comment. Based on my own studies and experience, I have no doubt that the above mentioned is factual and accurate. However, you must understand that an undertaking of this magnitude could never have come about without the express approval and direction of the international Jewish community, who own the central banks of the world and who, of course, held the biggest stake in the game. It is really a fantastic article. I mean that in terms of its greatness. However, you tend to put the blame on men as opposed to organizations. Interesting. So you see what I'm saying? It was all, I mean, the money that was going to be made, oh my gosh, off of the military-industrial complex was unbelievable in what was made. Now, if you remember, in John F. Kennedy's eulogy, there was a big part, I mean, one of the main things that always got to me was when he said, actually it was Robert Kennedy that eulogized his brother. He said he saw a war and tried to stop it. And that is what he's talking about. He's talking about the Vietnam War. And that's what just breaks my heart. So, really does. It breaks my heart. I think this is it. I think. Maybe, maybe not. It's just a speech. But we'll see if they'll stop clapping. I hate when I do live things because the clapping is just crazy. Maybe they'll stop sometime soon.
Robert Kennedy speaks as only a brother can of the late president.
I know that it was the source of the greatest strength to him to know that there were thousands of people all over the United States who were together with him, dedicated to certain principles and to certain ideals. No matter what talent an individual possesses, no matter what energy he might have, no matter how much integrity and honesty he might have, if he is by himself and particularly a political figure, he can accomplish very little. But if he's sustained, as President Kennedy was, by the Democratic Party all over the United States, dedicated to the same things that he was attempting to accomplish, you can accomplish a great deal. No one knew that really more than President John F. Kennedy.
You know, there have been people that have referred to him as the most loved man in the history of the world. I mean, of course, besides Jesus Christ. But pretty amazing stuff. Anyway, what else can I show you guys? I don't know. I have seen and read about everything there is to read on it, and my mind is completely made up. That, I mean, okay, Oswald, you may say. First of all, did you know Oswald had a brother named Robert Oswald? I bet you didn't know that. He had a brother named Robert Oswald who is still living in Dallas. He's 84 years old, and he didn't really have too much to do with anything, but his mother, now interesting enough, his own mother, Mrs. Oswald, always contended, and I don't see why the woman would lie. I mean, she's talking about her own son. She contended that he was an undercover, like a secret agent for the United States. I mean, it's just, what can I say? It's just it was a coup d'etat is what they called it. Very sad. And the speech I was going to play for you guys to close out is this right here. It's the most amazing speech I've ever heard in my life. And I'm going to only play the part that I think is interesting to what we're talking about. Take a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published, Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Basically, I'll end this by saying this. I believe that John F. Kennedy was a moral giant. I believe that he was going to take this country and maintain where it should have been. I believe that evil crept in, as it always does, and it won. But it didn't play fair. It did not, it did not give him an opportunity to fight back. It snuck in the dark. It was like evil is. Evil is slime. It's a snake. It crawls on the floor. It lies in the shadows. It sneaks around. It's not out in the open and honest like people like me. It lies. I'm fighting with myself on whether or not to address some of this bullshit that's going on around here. Oh, what the fuck. Okay. For those of you who aren't interested in Spreaker drama, pay no attention to what I'm fixing to say because it will make no sense to you out there. And I will address some of it, not all of it, because it's all a bunch of bullshit. But I will address some of it. How about that, huh? I'll do that. All right. And this is just off the top of my head. To the news guy. You are a drama queen. You tried your damnedest to stay away from it, and you couldn't. There was no way for you to stay away from it. You are like a ponytailed little girl that sits on the curb of complete indecency and everything bad. And you preach to trolls. You have a troll show. That's all you have. That's all you'll ever have, because you have proven to be nothing but just a bottom feeder, okay, to Desert Rose. You come across as sweet and innocent and stupid, and you lie about me continuously. I will not address it specifically because I've gone through it before. You know what you're lying about, and one day it will catch up to you in the form of karma, if it hasn't already. Let's see, to Guy Shay. Guy Shay, I will say, first of all, prove, that dramatic music is getting too loud. Prove, number one, that I'm the one that had you 404'd. Okay, I'd like to see you prove it. If you did get 404'd by somebody making a complaint, it was not me. It was probably, I'm going to say, it was between Hassan, maybe Audrey, maybe FRD. I don't know. Isn't it funny that somebody that came across just over the last 2 weeks? Why would I make a complaint about Guy Allen Shay when he had been making fun of me for approximately 8 months? I was used to his stupid bullshit. And in fact, Guy does it in a way that's funny. He does it, he tells people I was a prostitute. He tells people that that Victor left me, that Heather, me and Victor got married in 85. Heather was born in 87. I mean, unless I had a 2-year pregnancy, how would I have been pregnant when we got married? My in-laws love me. They're always calling me all the time. We're always together. My family and I were as close as we could ever be, as you well know. I don't know. The only thing I can think, he just makes this stuff up, and I think it's fun. It's almost funny in a way. But to the rest of you people out there, and you know who you are, you know what I said last night. I stand by that. But for all of you little mullets out there that are following along and in your little chanting and everything, it's never worked before, and it's not going to work this time, because you cannot. Thank you. Cream always rises to the top, and good always beats evil. Always.
You can tell everybody about the state I'm in. You won't catch me crying, 'cause I just can't win. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore, G. I don't care what you say. I don't play the same games you play. 'Cause I've been talking to the people that you call your friends, and it seems to...
Oh, one more thing. Don't trust everybody that's in your little circle.